When the drums of independence rolled across Africa in the mid-20th century, a tidal wave of hope swept the continent. From Accra to Kinshasa, from Dakar to Dar es Salaam, flags were raised, speeches thundered, and crowds sang songs of freedom. Europe's empires were retreating, their colonial grip broken by decades of resistance. Africans believed the chains had finally been shattered, but freedom, as history revealed, was only an illusion. The colonizers left the front door but returned through the back. The rifle was replaced with the loan document. The whip was exchanged for the contract. The empire no longer needed to plant its flag. It only needed to control Africa's banks, resources, and leaders. This was the birth of neo-colonialism, the most dangerous and deceptive stage of imperialism. Kwame Nkrumah's warning. Few men saw the storm coming as clearly as Ghana's first president, Kwame Nkrumah. To him, political independence meant nothing without economic independence. He warned that Africa was being tricked. The essence of neo-colonialism is that the state which is subject to it is, in theory, independent, but in reality its economic system and political policy are directed from outside. Nkrumah envisioned a United States of Africa, one currency, one army, one destiny, a continent so united that no foreign power could dictate its future. But his vision terrified the West. In 1966, after years of sabotage and internal betrayal, Nkrumah was overthrown in a coup backed by Western intelligence. His dream was silenced, but his warning still echoes today. Patrice Lumumba, the martyr of Congo. If Nkrumah was the prophet of unity, then Patrice Lumumba was the martyr of African dignity. When Congo gained independence in 1960, Belgium expected its grip on Congo's riches, uranium, diamonds, cobalt, to continue unchallenged. But Lumumba, young and fearless, rejected servitude. In his fiery independence speech, he declared, "We are no longer your monkeys." His words cut through the arrogance of Europe, igniting pride in Africans worldwide. But they also sealed his fate. Within months, Lumumba was betrayed, arrested, and assassinated in a plot involving Belgium and the CIA. His body was dissolved in acid, his life erased, but his spirit became immortal. Lumumba's death was a warning to all African leaders: resist the West, and you will pay the price. Julius Nyerere's struggle for self-reliance. In Tanzania, Julius Nyerere, a humble teacher-turned-president, dreamed of self-reliance. He launched Ujamaa, African socialism based on collective farming and familyhood. He urged Tanzanians to live simply, work together, and grow without foreign aid. But the global financial system was not built for independence. The World Bank and IMF punished Tanzania for refusing dependency. Loans were withheld, prices collapsed, and Nyerere's villages faltered. In the end, his ideals were crushed under the weight of international pressure. Still, Nyerere stood as a moral giant, a reminder that Africa's poverty was not a natural state, but an engineered condition. Thomas Sankara, the upright man. In 1983, a young soldier named Thomas Sankara took power in Burkina Faso. He rejected Western aid, saying, "He who feeds you controls you." Sankara was unlike any African president before him. He cut his salary, rode bicycles, planted millions of trees, and gave women positions of power. He renamed his country from Upper Volta to Burkina Faso, the land of upright men, but his radical independence threatened France and local elites who thrived on corruption. In 1987, Sankara was gunned down in a coup orchestrated by his closest ally, Blaise Compaoré, with French backing. His dream was buried with him, but his name remains a symbol of the Africa that could have been. The CFA franc, France's invisible empire. While assassinations silenced revolutionaries, France perfected a more subtle weapon: money. To this day, 14 African nations use the CFA franc, a colonial-era currency controlled from Paris. Their reserves are held in the French treasury, their economies tied to French policy. This is colonization without the gun, slavery without the chains. The leaders who question it face coups, sanctions, or worse. France may have lowered its flag, but through the CFA, it never really left. Muammar Gaddafi and the African Dream. In the north, Muammar Gaddafi of Libya tried to build what Nkrumah dreamed of. He funded the African Union, supported liberation struggles, and proposed a single African currency backed by gold. His idea threatened the dominance of the US dollar and the euro. In 2011, NATO bombs fell on Libya. Gaddafi was captured and brutally killed in the desert. His nation was left in chaos, and his African dream collapsed with him. Another leader who dared to challenge the global order was erased. The new masters, IMF, World Bank, and China. Today, Africa remains chained. The IMF and World Bank lend billions, but their loans come with demands. Privatize your industries, cut subsidies, sell state assets. These structural adjustments cripple economies, keeping Africa dependent. Western corporations plunder oil, gold, coltan, and cobalt, minerals that fuel the world's technology. Meanwhile, China has joined the scramble. It builds roads, ports, and railways, but in exchange, it binds countries with debt. The faces of the colonizers may have changed, but the essence of exploitation remains the same. The youth and the unfinished struggle. Yet Africa is not defeated. Across the continent, a new generation is rising. From student protests in South Africa, to anti-colonial movements in Senegal, to Pan-African voices on social media, young Africans are unmasking the deception. They ask, why is a land so rich, so poor? Why do nations with gold, oil, and diamonds still beg for aid? The youth are not blind to the truth. Africa is still at war, not with colonial armies, but with banks, corporations, and puppet leaders. The battle ahead. Neo-colonialism does not wear a soldier's uniform. It wears a suit and tie. It does not carry a rifle. It carries a contract. It does not conquer with tanks. It conquers with debt. But the story is not yet finished. The spirit of Nkrumah, Lumumba, Nyerere, Sankara, and Gaddafi lives on. Their struggle is Africa's unfinished journey. And today the question is not whether Africa is free, but whether Africa has the courage to claim its freedom. Will Africa finally break the chains of modern colonization, or remain forever a pawn in the games of empires? The answer lies not in the hands of foreign powers, but in the hands of Africans themselves. What are your thoughts? Share them in the comment below, and let's interact.